Well, guess what? It's time for another matchup here in Swiss Day number 1 as we walk you into Hanwha Live and PSG. You are so damn tall. It's crazy. I'm stepping on something as well. And you're not even wearing that like high shoes. It's difficult. Apparently Australians aren't tall. Canadians, though, the other part of the Commonwealth. I don't know what's in your food and your water, but man, it's working well. You look good.
Thank you. You too. It's good to be here casting with you. I think this is going to be hopefully a fun game. I mean, obviously on paper, I think everyone is going to say, you know, HLE, massive favorites. But you never know. PSG, you know, they pulled off some miracles in the past.
They warmed up. They warmed up in the playing stage. At first, if we saw them on the day one as to what they are now, you'd be like, no way is this team going to get through.
Yeah.
But in recency, PSG did get there.
Their drafts against 100 Thieves, you know, gameplay aside, because 100 Thieves obviously didn't play well and PSG just slammed them, but their drafts against 100 Thieves, I really liked. They were just playing like standard, solid stuff. This is a good team. They're a good macro team. You know, they can play some really solid League of Legends here. I do think their draft reads, you know, as you're kind of alluding to, in the first series that they played were really poor. Really and even against Mad in the second series, I thought they were pretty poor as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, I do think they were kind of like scaling into play-ins, and I think this is a team that will have really benefited from actually getting to play-ins before coming up against an incredibly difficult opponent. Obviously, HLE is still, that all being said, is still massively favored. Yeah. But, you know, PSG, maybe they can throw back to the Flash Wolves days and be some LCK killers, pull off some sort of an upset. It is a BO1, so...
Anything's possible in a BO1, you know?
But, I mean, Hanwha Life is looking so strong. I mean, they were able to overcome JunJia. And even though everyone's kind of talking about JunJia as they're the #1 seed, HLE did upset them in the finals.
And this is JunJia 2.0, don't forget.
It is.
We got Delight, Peanut, and we got Doran in the same roster. So it's just another JunJia anyway.
Absolutely. And you're paired up with a couple world champs, so not too shabby. Zeka and Viper, these guys are absolutely incredible. And I believe it was a 19-game or series losing streak that Hanwha had against JunJia before they beat them in the finals. So
it was crazy.
That was like absolutely insane. They played incredibly well. But even finals aside, this team, I think, you know, if you look at the totality of the year, I think they were the second best team in the LCK. Obviously, they did kind of get upset in spring by T1, and they didn't end up finishing top 2. But, you know, they were really solid. I think Peanut is playing incredibly well. I do think that Zeka, the meta, could fit him very well. Obviously, you know, he has become such a well-rounded player, and I think the way that I've heard a lot of people in the West talking about some of these players, I think is like very outdated. I think that, you know, people still think of Zeka, if you think back to his Worlds performance where he won Worlds, like, this guy's just like a melee-only player. Well, he was actually nasty on AD carries as well. Yes, he still brought in Yone. Yes, he still brought in, you know, those kind of specialist champions, and maybe could still bring those in here to really kind of put him over the top. And Doran as well, I just feel like, I'm kind of like... almost frustrated with the narrative around him. I think that
no one likes him.
Well, I just think people give him so much hate, and I feel like it's so unjust. I do think he's a really strong player. Is he been? No, but like he is a really elite level top laner in the world. And yes, he has some kind of really big end games, and I think that's where people really kind of just like latch onto that, and they see a really bad game from him, and like, oh, this guy's trash or this guy's garbage.
Even in the finals, you go back to the LCK finals versus JunJia. He had the Camille versus Jax game where he got absolutely bodied, but then he turns around and Doran on Jax is a completely different beast, and that shows the high highs that he can have. And yes, Doran, you know, was it MSI or Worlds, even Worlds last year? I think it was MSI, more importantly, only recency, where Doran, I'm thinking of Worlds last year, I'm getting confused again, is where Doran had a really good tournament.
Yeah, I mean, he's been playing really well, I think, for quite some time, and honestly, he's a very flexible player. You know, sometimes I hear people talking about, oh, like he's just like Mr. Weak Side and stuff. I also don't think that is true at all. I think he can play the carries. I think he can really play at that top level. So I've just kind of gotten a little sick of all the Doran flame that I've been hearing online, all the Doran slander.
You're a Doran defender.
I had to white knight him a little bit because I do think he is deserving of that. But, you know, Peanut has been so solid. Obviously, I do think people will always, when it comes to Worlds, look at Peanut and say, he's a choker, he hasn't gotten it done because he hasn't won a world championship. But he's done like everything else besides that, and he has been so consistent for so long, successful across many different rosters in the LCK, playing at that elite level, and I have just been so impressed by him this year. He has been so stalwart for the team. You know, really good at setting them up on a lot of these kind of facilitated picks. And here are the teams starting to walk out. PSG versus HLE. It's going to be a really exciting one. We're going to see the debut here of the LCK #1 seed.
Oh yeah, the people that created the upset. Everyone said it was JunJia's Golden Road, and you would have had to come in, as I capsed that, we would have had to listen to the golden road this, the grand slam that HLE made it so that us casters don't have to keep going on about that. They broke them, and it was crazy again. It was such a fun finals to go back and watch in a 5-game series, but you know, Zeka, as you were talking about at the very start, Zeka had an insane finals, and I think, again, Zeka's going to be more flexible than those people who only tuned in, you know, maybe all the way back to 2022 DRX.
Exactly.
And are stuck in that past where they don't see what the new Zeka is like now, who's returning to that World Finals form, or at least getting close to.
I mean, I think he's pretty much there. Like, this guy has been playing, you know, so incredibly well, and I do think, again, you know, if people are right and it is going to end up being, you know, kind of more of those melee champions in the meta, he is really going to shine. You know, yes, I did say he can play incredibly well in the AD carries. He did great in the LCK on that, but this guy is magic on Yone, on Akali, on Sylas. Everyone knows that, you know, from his World Championship
His Corki got a lot better. Remember, his Corki was memed on domestically, and Zeka's Corki even got better.
And I mean, Delight, this guy is, you know, Mr. Engage. His Rakan is absolutely next level. It is like almost a guaranteed perfect engage, it feels like every single time. So it will be exciting. You know, I do think the meta can fit them very, very well. PSG over on the other side, obviously we talked about them a little bit, but going to be really interesting to see how they can perform. You know, this is Maple's last hurrah here. Having some really legendary players kind of, you know, make that announcement. Levi and Maple, both these massive mainstays, you know, kind of players that have been dominating their region for so long. You know, we see them in the international stage so many times. I want to see if they can kind of make a really great run for themselves here on their last go at Worlds.
And so many other, you know, other teams as well that we're questioning rosters. You know, T1 comes into that argument. I know the desk is going to look at that throughout the day, or at least throughout the tournament. But let's focus in on this, because for draft, HLE are taking away that Skarner that, again, I know that a lot of Korean junglers have been spamming in solo queue, in champs queue at the moment too. Poppy against Delight is funny considering what we've seen over the playoffs, and of course that Ziggs against Viper too, and against most teams, has just been the takeaway.
Yeah, Ziggs obviously, you know, is very strong in the meta. Mostly been playing bot these days, but just kind of waiting to see what HLA's read is, because we did see, you know, JunJia was kind of playing very much an old style. We've seen a lot of the Eastern teams, I think, so far, you know, that are debuting here on the Swiss stage, kind of playing what is considered to be the old meta, you know, a couple patches ago. Whether or not that is them just saying, you know what, our first match, we expect to win, so why would we show anything? You know, we're just going to kind of, you know, hide our picks, keep it close to your chest.
Actually,
You don't really know if it's going to be that. You don't really know if it's just going to be, you know what, we could be nervous first game on stage, let's play comfort picks. It could be any number of reasons, but definitely not the same kind of priority that we've been expecting on champions like Syndra, like Ori, you know, like Yone. Those were kind of the big three that a lot of people were talking about, especially in mid lane. And top lane has been, you know, pretty much, I think, par for the course. Everyone kind of thought top lane was basically the same.
Well, Yone is open on that note as well, by the way, so HLE can just show us a priority of that. And again, we've talked about it. For someone like Zeka, that is a powerful pick to leave open against HLE.
Yeah, that's terrifying, because I think this pick is just terrifying in its own right, and Zeka is so good on it. You know, this definitely could be problematic for them. 70% win rate on it in the LCK. This split was really looking good on this pick. Sejuani, it feels like a pretty smart takeaway here. It's obviously such a strong pairing with the Yone, and it is something that is definitely comfort for Peanut as well. It was his most played in the LCK by quite a bit, if I recall correctly. Going to be interested to see what the pairings for PSG are, though, as they're going to go Jackson. I mean, we saw some Akali and stuff from Maple, so they could even go, you know, double melee solo laners here potentially if they wanted to.
We've also seen some Renekton mid too as well, something that a lot of Yone mains hate running into.
Hasn't really worked, but we did see it.
We have seen it.
Wish we hadn't, but
well, let's see if they can surprise us on the other side. HLE thinking about a jungle pick, and again, while the Amumu is real, we haven't seen it just yet, as Maokai back for Peanut. Okay, old reliable here for the pairing of Doran on something like the Cassante. Also seems right for what we've seen from HLE. Just slapping Doran on something like the Cassante. The Renekton already mentioned before as well. Potential for the Gnar here, as that also gets locked in.
Yeah, so Gnar's going to come in here. This is a pretty comfortable matchup. I always look at this as slightly Gnar favored early, and obviously Jax can outscale, but I think it's pretty skill-based, and a lot of the best Gnar players, you know, really just don't give good windows for the Jax to be able to kill. I would actually love Sylas here. There are incredible ultimates to steal with the Maokai and the Gnar, and it is a secondary, you know, melee soul laner there for the Sejuani, but I'm not sure if he's going to be comfortable in that matchup against the Yone. So he is going back to the Akali that I mentioned earlier. He had some really strong games on Akali in play-ins. In that final series against 100 Thieves, he was just kind of playing more standard mage stuff. But even in the loss, he was looking incredible on Akali, and he had like basically 3 or 4 back-to-back-to-back games in play-ins where he was just straight smurfing on this pick.
Oh yeah, I mean, he could get up to 2 items and then he ran the fights. So for Maple, again, he's going to try and run that back, and Azhi, you already pointed it and acknowledged before, it's double solo laners in melee, which means it's going to buff JunJia as well here for the early skirmishes. On the other side, the pick potential getting taken away as PSG take that Ashe off the board. No AD carry yet here for HLE or PSG, so expect maybe those pools to get mighty pinched here as we go into the second phase.
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of prio on Jhin thus far, so that is going to get banned out. Jhin just really is great, especially when you have someone else alongside it that is going to bring that consistent damage. I don't like Jhin if you're playing like Jhin LeBlanc as your only threats and things like that, but Jhin is such a facilitator, you know, is able to follow up on engages, can open up and really create chaos on a lot of these fights, create windows for your other carries to really put on pressure. Ezreal getting banned out, that is another Viper special here. This guy obviously so good on the Ezreal. He's really good on pretty much every champion. He is one of the best AD carries in the world, absolutely, but definitely can shine, I feel like, most on those real hyper carries, you know, when he is playing something like the Zeri, like the Kai'Sa.
The EDG days, right?
It's like, that, I just have that special place in my heart, man, for Viper on those big carries.
He was crazy, he is crazy. I like that you mentioned it again. Got high hopes for Viper here as we don't take an AD carry off here for HLE in the end. It's the Nautilus, it's the Engage. They give away the Kai'Sa here, and all of a sudden we keep seeing more dive out of PSG, built for this game of Swiss.
Yeah, the Nautilus ban here is interesting. You know, it does kind of lead me to believe that maybe you want to play a high mobility carry here for Viper. You know, something that makes it a little bit more difficult to lock down here. This would be something that's really strong against what PSG have shown. This is hard engage, and they're going to draft an engage support as well, pretty much guaranteed. Xayah answers that beautifully. I absolutely love it, and Rakan is up. And Delight is incredibly good at it.
You talk about it at the start of draft. I was just going to say, it's just going to be the pairing.
I feel like it definitely could be.
And they say, whatever, take Rel, we'll just put Delight on comfort. We'll put Delight on that same champion that he's so well known for.
I mean, he is so well known for it. I just feel like it is just screaming out to call out at that point. And he is going to answer. We are going to get the Delight Rakan. I don't know, man. I am pretty nervous for PSG. Just even looking at some of the, like, if you're playing, you know, nameplates off, then it could go either way. But when you realize it's like Zeka got Yone, Delight is on the Rakan.
Peanut on Maokai as well.
Peanut is on Maokai. This is super comfort. Viper is going to be incredibly difficult to dive, and you're kind of like full committed to this hard dive, right? Alistar is just even more of that, but it's not like you could pivot out of that and say, let's draft something else now. Like, you are going triple melee topside with a Kai'Sa. It's full dive. You're committed.
Now, as we round out the comps, there is one stat I need to share with everyone at home, and Betty's brought this up to me last night. He's like, hang on a minute. He's like, wait, Peanut this entire year only lost 1 game on Maokai out of 18 games. And it was in the grand final that he lost the game against JunJia. But again, shout out to Betty for bringing that to my attention. He is 17-1 on the pick in 2024, which is an insane stat here when, I mean, you are talking about one of the best junglers in the LCK, and yes, Hanwha Life do win a lot. But still, it's just crazy to throw that in there as they debut on the Swiss stage.
But to put it in perspective, their teammate, you know, game score over the whole year, they had a 70% win rate, which is obviously incredibly good. But Maokai, 94.4%. So it is still, you know, very heavily above the average that their team does win. Sometimes win rates can be kind of fraudulent when people are like, yeah, this guy's insane at this champ. He has a 60% win rate. It's like, well, your team has a 70% win rate.
So what does that mean?
But it's going to be an exciting one here. Got the Viper EDG sign in the crowd.
Oh, he remembers. I mean, it's a good throwback.
Who could forget?
It was such a crazy team. No one expected them to win Worlds. Hanwha Life this time, a lot of people are putting them in the top 3, top 4 to win Worlds. And as they debut here against PSG, I mean, PSG is the play-ins run real. Can they use that momentum and take a win off tournament favorites? It would set up their tournament, it would set up the Swiss stage, and it would throw expectations out the window. As again today, we've had some pretty close matchups with LCK versus other members of the East, and here against PSG, we get to find out if that's going to be the case again.
Yeah, we have had some really close matchups. I mean, Fnatic, they had opportunities in their game.
Sure.
Weibo got way closer against Genji than I think people were exciting. TL obviously had their windows against LNG.
Yep. T1 lost out to top esports before.
Yep. So we've had some really close, really competitive games. Honestly, we've gotten way more good games than I was kind of expecting.
It's good, isn't it? Yeah.
Coming into this first day. I thought there was going to be a lot more lopsided matches, and we'll see if that does continue here for the last couple that we have scheduled.
Well, that should be good because I know after this, Fly versus Gam. I just saw Gam Man walking along in the audience, so he's definitely getting ready for that. And Azale, let's hope you're not another curse. For now, though, I take it away. I'm not going to throw that into your face.
Don't you put that out there?
No, I'm sorry. I felt guilty as soon as I said it.
Every time NA loses, I get like 50 tweets. Like, get off the cast,
Yo, the DMs must be nuts. I feel sorry for
They're in good fun, to be fair, but there's an edge of truth to it.
Yep.
They're like, well, it's been a lot of losses. Maybe we shouldn't have.
Now, I was going to say that this looks like the most standard start, but of course, Betty and Woody are going to go against that, and they're going to swap sides.
You know what the sad part is? You're right. It is the most standard start at Worlds. So, like, every single game, it feels like it's just a lane swap today. Which... I mean, lane swaps can be interesting. You know, they can be strategically cool, especially if there is some sort of adaptation that's going on.
True.
But when you come to Worlds, you want to see the best players in the world laning against each other.
Yeah.
You know, you just want to see the 1v1s. You want to see the 2v2s. You want to see those outplays. And lane swaps, unfortunately, do deny us a bit of that. We'll have to see, though, if PSG can get too much from this. Obviously, Alistar, kind of famously awful level 1, so a lot of players here, you know, just electing to lane swap when they do have Alistar, even if it's just a quick push towards level 2, and that's exactly what they're doing. This is kind of a similar situation that we saw Core and Impact in last game, where obviously Woody's going to be going down bot lane to try to cover Azhi here on the Jax. Of course, we know that HLE isn't looking to dive. They're just going to farm and play. They're just chilling and continuing to move around the map here as Doran's going to TP back towards top, catch that wave, and Peanut is just power farming here on the Maokai. So HLE is already up, you know, good 400 gold, and they're just saying, you know what, if you're going to give us that advantage, we're just going to take that gold lead and we're going to just run with it.
I mean, again, the difference is that, like, this time as well, there's no setup for the dive, right? The support still moves to the same position, but junglers are pathing towards top, and Doran was able to get some experience through mid, but now receives the wave. Betty's push too only looked like a couple of waves there, not that big build or stack up that we saw even in the last game as Azale, where it was about denying as much experience and gold as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, honestly, you know, Betty elects not to do that massive stack wave because Woody is basing, right? So they're pushing to get level 2 fast as Woody's going to look mid and does force a flash. Nice. So as soon as they want to try to go for that fast level 2, that means you can't really slow stack it, right? You have to just, you're kind of opting into a different strategy where you have to fast push a little bit more, get the fast level 2 for Woody so he can get back down to bot to cover a potential dive. Obviously, that didn't end up happening, but he is able to find something there as Doran hops in.
Minion blocks away as Doran wasn't able to get his drill thrown out, but you notice bot side, some heavy trades coming through. Ardra at half HP, but Viper and Delight just keep walking on up, getting some heavy trades once again, and looking for more plating.
Well, this is the thing, right? You know, they're just farming plates. They're saying, great, like, you're going for this. Peanut's just going to cover Doran. There's no way you're ever diving this. Just like absolutely zero chance it would work in a 3v2. So, you know, it's great cover here from HLE, and they're saying, yeah, sure, do the lane swap. Who cares? We're going to have Viper way ahead in gold. We're going to get, you know, a gold lead as well on Doran. We're just in a much better spot in this situation. Oh, Maple didn't want that.
He took a turret shot as well. He does level up, so some health gained back on in, but still, that could have been more disastrous here as Zeka takes him with him.
I mean, this is just looking so miserable for Azhi, because every time, generally when you play Jax in these kind of 1vx situations, the way that you get any farm is every time Counter-Strike's up, you walk forward, you use the Counter-Strike, and you actually just use that to protect yourself from the AD carry and then pick up a minion or two. And now what we're seeing Delight is doing, which this is honestly just kind of a masterclass from here, is every time Azhi walks up with Counter-Strike, he's actually, you know, just knocking him up and jumping back. Like, he's denying his ability to actually get to those minions to get any farm. He's constantly CCing him, harassing him, and then, yeah, sure, even if you land a Counter-Strike on him, Viper's putting the feathers through you, so that you have to watch out for the pullback. So Azhi just basically, every time he steps forward, is being forced to immediately leap strike backwards to a minion, and that's why he wasn't able to really get any farm until just now when they based, and he can finally push out that wave. But look at what Doran's done, right? You know, Doran is a little bit behind in XP, but he has an additional 14 minions, and it's over 2 full waves, and has not really been pressured in that same way. So Viper and Delight just doing a great job with it. As Delight, again, moving towards topside. Anytime there's any opportunity, they're saying, you know what, Doran, would you be vulnerable on these waves? Yes, I would. Okay, someone is there to cover. First it was Peanut, and now since the wave had bounced, Doran needs to push it out. That's why there's someone here again. And this is just simple stuff, but it makes such a big difference. You know, if there isn't someone there to cover you on this push, you could easily int it in this situation, but because HLE have them covered entirely, it just looks like there's nothing happening.
Such clean assignments and such clean map play here from HLE, and as Delight moves up top to also cover Doran, as JunJia was spotted in the area, he just moves away after the waves pushed up. Doran can walk back if he needs, but cancels it back for the meantime. Grubs are also up and available. And I also noticed that Doran is about to hit level 6. A couple more minions, and he will be able to impact this as PSG start them off at the very least.
Yeah, going to be able to start up these grubs here, and at the very least, they will get one right away. Maple does move first, but is still missing a little bit of health, and Zeka did just buy, so we'll see if they want to try to get in for one, but it doesn't look like they're going to go for it.
JunJia's almost level 6. He won't get it off this last grub. No, he will not indeed. Just got the massive boost from the first. So 3 grubs go over to PSG. Despite what was happening, but when your bot lane is still up at the top side, I mean, I guess it's least to be expected.
And it's still an 800 gold lead for HLE with really nothing happening, right? You know, we barely had any fighting. Azhi gets a nice little trade there as he finally knows Delight, of course, was up on that top side. He showed he was kind of harassing JunJia over on those grubs, and Azhi is going to try to just sit back, making sure he is not exposing himself to any sort of a gank from Peanut, because they know that control ward is there over by Try, so he doesn't really have any vision in the enemy jungle, and that's why he has to play so safe, even though potentially he could put some pressure on and farm these minions. He just can't afford to expose himself because he doesn't know if he's going to get wrapped around on.
I like the vision talk because the river right now is controlled, at least towards mid lane, as Zeka and Maple, we get a quick snapshot of what's going on there. There's a good control ward, there's a river ward up and topside as well. So HLE just doing their due diligence as Delight once again makes himself known towards mid. Peanut now has level 6 as well, sees JunJia in the jungle, just does a bramble smash to get on out while he also covers for Viper again. I mean, just covering these lanes seems like the early game talk here. As once again in a lane swap, it feels like every game we talk about who's covering who and how important it is at the time.
Absolutely, and I mean, especially if you have really a lot of confidence that you can win out in the later stages, why not?
Oh, onto Zeka. Remember, his flash was burned early. It's still not up. Great timer from PSG. First blood taken away as Zeka can't get his fate sealed. Instead, he gets his fate put in the dirt as first blood over to PSG.
Nicely done. Woody just finds the engage and no hesitation from him. Woody impressed me so much when I was watching the PCS. This guy is mechanically very, very good. He has that killer instinct. He has that edge that you need as an engaged player to find that small window and just no hesitation. You have to immediately have confidence. You have to go for it. He absolutely rinsed 100 Thieves with some of those engages, finding flanks, especially in that last game with River, you know, on the Lilia. It just felt like anytime River showed himself, Woody is flashing on his head, Woody is finding the kill on him, and setting up his team for success helps to eliminate almost all that gold lead that HLE had been slowly growing.
And from the bottom lane especially, Viper was the one with a bit of a lead. Betty picks up the kill, and now he's in the driver's seat here already. He's got the Rectrix, he's got the recurve bow, and as Betty looks to push in this wave with Peanut, not spotted on a ward, but will be on the pixel brush, he walks away in a very good spot in this early game. So nice setup from PSG. They also picked up Grubs before. Dragon sits there, but Grubs in 1 minute 30. And some of the early game mitigation is nice to see, considering that we're hyping up PSG as not this walkover if they play like they did from the end of play-in stage.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if they play like they did at MSI, this team went 5 games against BLG, right? Like, this is a team that is having a very good year. I think people sometimes talk strangely about the PCS. It's like they almost pretend that they have always been like they were, you know, in like 2015 and stuff back in the Flash Wolf days. And it's not really true. I mean, last year alone, they failed to make it out of play-ins at MSI and Worlds. And that's not to criticize. That's to say, you know, we need to call attention to the improvement and to how good of a year they're having. This is a standout year. They did so well at MSI. Doran in trouble here. JunJia's behind him.
He's flashed over the wall, but going to be met. The counter-strike and the stun in place. No Mega Gnar. And they take him before he evolves. Now for Peanut, he's left him here without his top laner. He needs some assistance, but following over the wall, Azhi gets the flash out of him, but JunJia matches, presses W, gets the kill. But for HLE, they need a response. They pull the feathers in, and for Viper, it's good damage down. He takes down JunJia, gets a 1 for 2, but remember, PSG took the fight there and won it out.
And we are dead even. It's just a great read and great play from Azhi and JunJia. JunJia just gets behind Doran, and he's sitting in a position knowing that's exactly where the Jax is going to put him. That is really good stuff from the top side duo here from PSG. They play an abnormal amount towards Azhi, so these guys really are an experienced duo as a top and jungle pairing there. You know, they love to play towards top lane. Like, it is crazy how much more they do than the average team, at least in the PCS.
Yeah, I mean, JunJia not only in play-ins, we saw some of that attention, but we also saw that when you play through Azhi in the PCS, he can be a reliable carry now. His development this year is insane. When I remember casting the guy back in the day, and I said it in play-ins, he got outclassed by people like Rest in the league. People like, you know, the rest of the PCS players. I was going to say YSKM, probably not the right player, if those fans remember. Now for PSG, they're starting to take this grubs in the top side. On a ward is JunJia. He's already gotten 4. But this might just be a 6 grub game picked up by PSG because Hanwha Life got beaten out before.
Yeah, it's looking really good. I mean, off of that pressure that they got on top side, they get the kills. They now have 6 grubs here. And the gold, 200 gold for HLE. Now 300, but I mean, it's just between that 200-300 mark. Honestly, who cares? The gold lead pretty much is nothing. They just need to make sure that Azhi isn't going to get picked on here. As Peanut is moving down towards that bottom side, you can see on the mini-map. And Azhi obviously way down on farm. He didn't get the kill in those skirmishes on the top side. Peanut knows he hasn't been spotted yet. Azhi is playing with respect to this, but again, that means he's just going to be losing even more farm. He desperately wants that cannon. This could be his life.
He gets sunned up, altered back, and as Al says, yeah, that means the death knell's there. Bramble smashed the wrong way, but for Peanut still getting the engage with the counter-strike set up by the Glacial Prison means that PSG can try and turn this, and with Maple in, they will indeed. A fate sealed in onto Hanwha Life is good, and Zeka brings the fight back. Maple jumps in under turret again, but this time he might want to go further. Flash, perfect execution there. Hanwha Life lucky to be alive with another trade.
Yeah, it was really good setup there from HLE, though. They know that Azhi's really going to be desperate for that cannon. He has been getting zoned off so much farm. It is just so juicy. He can't pass it up, so he goes in for that cannon, but PSG had the TP from Maple to cover. They quickly come in on that, and they punish the missing flash from Peanut, because remember, they have that timer from him running away. He got killed off by JunJia on that top side, so Maple arrives, they get that kill. It is just a 1-for-1 trade, but it's, again, that proactive play, that cover that you need to have there from PSG. They are not rolling over here against HLE by any means, and they're setting themselves up to have a real chance in the 5v5, in the skirmishes, and that's where they have to really prove that they're going to be able to deal with the engage from Delight, that they're going to be able to find some way to problem solve the issue that is going to be Viper here on this Xayah.
Well, at least the Jax is going to have impact, and JunJia again has had impact in this early game. We already talked about him shadowing Azhi. I think the big thing is people forget that coming into Worlds, he was first in CS per minute as a jungler. And this guy's on Sejuani, ganking, and still up here onto Peanut as bot side turret goes down while we're glazing PSG a bit. Hanwha Life do get themselves first turret blood, which leads them into a gold lead. But as Dragon stares them in the face, I mean, PSG are still nearby if this turns into an all-out brawl.
Yep. You know, PSG are going to have to stay aggressive. They're going to have to keep looking for these plays. And they can, in theory, play through side lanes, but at a certain point, you're going to have to deal with the 5v5. And I think it is going to be so problematic because while PSG are winning out on some of these skirmishes, they still have not really had to deal with Viper, have not really had to deal with Delight. And Viper is just going to be so well set up to be safe in these fights, and with the Xayah ultimate, with the cleanse, with the amount of peel between the Maokai, the Gnar, as well as this Rakan, it's so tough for them to get to him. So PSG is going to be in this difficult situation where not only you have to execute really, really well in the 5v5, you have to find the multiple angles on these flanks. Because it has to be someone getting in, you know, Jax gets in on top of Viper and he pops the ult, and then all of a sudden Maple's there too from somewhere else, and that's the kind of stuff you're going to be able to need to take him off, because if you're just running straight at him, you have absolutely no chance in ever getting to him.
That's what I like for PSG is that we get the MasterCard lane economy snapshot to show you that yes, jungle's ahead once again, but everyone from HLE, despite the circumstances, is ahead in gold. I love again that PSG tried to pull this comp out in their debut on Swiss and are like, we can do it, we can operate it. And while picks early have come into fruition, now as you say, it gets more difficult into the 5v5s, into the later objective setups. Look at the Herald that's just spawned here as Delight and Viper sit around mid, try to force out, but the extra range there for Delight means that they can walk away while PSG try to get themselves into River.
Exactly, and PSG just, again, going to be playing towards these topside objectives. They're going to be looking for that Herald, looking for the Scuttle. They already got all 6 grubs here, so we'll see if this is going to be a contest from HLE. Of course, the Essence Reaver's done, the Blade of the Rune King's done, Triforce, Locket, you know, all these key items have now come through for HLE, so I think that they're not just going to be giving this up, and Peanut going to be moving in and pulling aggro now on that Herald. They have Mega Gnar ready, so here we go.
On a ward, so they'll know the exact health bar here. PSG still angling for the fight. Betty took a bit of damage, which might hurt a bit, but at 4K, it goes down. HLE draw PSG in, but Arja wants a 1v1 off the back end. 1500 on the health bar. JunJia for the steal. The ulti sent out. He runs in into Herald. It's not taken, but now for the quickness. HLE take the fight and take the brute force. Get the damage down. The fate sealed as well. 5 members left standing as the feathers fly out. You said it, Azale. You said how hard it's going to be. Doran whacks him back for the kick flip ulti. Arja sent packing and a double over to Doran with a beautiful Gnar ulti. Make it 3. HLE with their hands again, just like finals. Debut big on Swiss.
Yeah, they just have the outplay in that 5v5. They have the Herald as well. They get 3 kills on the Gnar. They're going to push top for that tower. They're going to take the mid lane tier 1. And they're going to get a charge on the second tower here as well. They may not finish this off, but this just exploded the game here for HLE. They are in an incredible spot now. Look at the Gnar gold lead as he gets the solo gold on that. He's nearly 2k ahead. Now Zeka is 1.6k ahead. Sure, you killed Viper, but at what cost?
I mean, it just all exploded at once. Maple's going to make a teleport play. He flashes for the 5-point strike, but HLE, imagine he's about to go to Mega Gnar, gets a stun, ulti again. Maple's against the wall as Zeka starts free firing, and JunJia can't save the situation. It's a turnabout play, and JunJia needs to run the hell away. Just when you think PSG were finding angles in this game, after that fight, after that pick, it's a 4.5k gold lead.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they played really well through the early stages, but it's always going to be that question. Can you out-team fight a team like HLE? They had given themselves an opportunity to do so, but they are so good in these skirmishes, so adept at playing out the fights. And again, you have to commit so much to killing Viper off that it means Zeka's going crazy, Doran's going crazy. The rest of the team was not even threatened at all. You had to send everything and the kitchen sink to kill off this Xayah, and it ends up costing you the fight, ends up costing you multiple towers. And some people might meme on that play from Maple, but he knows after that fight and all the towers they lost, they're in a terrible spot. So he TPs before Doran buys to try to get the bounty. And honestly, I kind of respect it because you are just in a terrible spot from this position.
I mean, again, it's just talking about Doran, where he was last year at Worlds, and the expectations we have as this kind of player. And we come back to it, like, he still hits high highs. He gets memed on sometimes, but he still has high highs. And here in this opening game on the Gnar, some beautiful teamfight positioning and play. This guy's leading the charge.
Absolutely, and I mean, I think this is kind of something that just honestly happens, you know, not just with Doran, but it's just a nature of the game, and especially international, you know, where people obviously haven't necessarily seen a lot of games of these players, you know, all year long. They see one moment or one thing, and that's kind of what you latch onto, and that becomes, you know, the reputation or the narrative or whatever for players. But I do think it is kind of sad sometimes because it can erase, you know, all of the good work and all the things that these players are doing so well. And so I just always like to kind of call it out a little bit when I see it.
I mean, it's valid. And in this game, HLE, again, I said it before, working with their hands, like, it just felt like you watched the finals and you watched some of the best HLE games of this split, of playoffs itself. And it's always this team just finding the margins. I'll never forget game 1 as long as I live of them versus JunJia, of that fight top with Zeka and Viper. Absolutely hand-stiffing again, to use the word, in that first game against JunJia.
Yeah,
I mean,
with you. They can absolutely pull it off. They are spectacular at that highest level. Some incredible mechanics on this team. And now PSG are in for a world of hurt. You know, we'll see if they can find any sort of a way to really make some magic happen here. You're going to have to look for some sort of a pick. You know, you basically at this point are depending upon, you know, getting an instant kill at the start of the fight on one of the key members. It basically has to be Zeka or Viper dying as soon as the fight starts, or you're just not going to win the fight. So it is going to be up to JunJia, up to Woody, up to these guys that are on those playmakers to find that perfect initial engage on a key member. and it's going to be up to HLE to deny that. And your job gets so much harder when you're playing against the Peanut Maokai, because he's going to be throwing saplings in every brush. He's going to be throwing down things like this. The ulti is just to secure Viper that tier 2 mid, so he grabs that, gets the local gold on it, and there's no way that PSG can actually move to contest.
As they take the turret, we move to 5k. Baron's up in 3 seconds is something that can be forced. And again, you've got Yone, you've got Gnar, and you've also got Xayah. HLE, one mistake can lead into this objective that'll go down quite quickly. And side lanes now for Doran too are looking even better and better. He's heading towards the Asterix Gauge, it looks like, for a second item. And he should be there relatively soon. He's also got a 60 CS lead over Azhi. Now, I know there were lane swaps. I know that Doran got to play out his solo lane for a little bit longer without much stress. But it's still just kind of showing you how this guy knows how to push a lead, as HLE all individually have shown us that in this game too.
Absolutely, and also just, I mean, yeah, some of it's from lane swap, but credit to HLE on how they actually handled that. Every time there was any sort of window of opportunity for PSG to punish Gnar, there's someone there covering him. Peanut's there covering him. Delight's there covering him, you know, helping him push out the wave. They just did that so incredibly well. And on the other side, Delight and Viper pressured Azhi on every single wave. He just couldn't farm. So, you know, you're expanding this advantage more and more and more. And HLE did an incredible job with that. And now that's paying dividends, because guess what? Now in the 1v1, Azhi doesn't really stand too much of a chance here against Doran. You know, he's just in such a better spot. So it means that Azhi's going to miss even more and more farm. And HLE can just look to extend this lead.
You expect the same as Zeka, who's 2 items up versus 1.5 for Maple. Is damage even if JunJia here. He goes over the wall. Maple tags in. They might take this all in. They hit everything onto Zeka. He's caught a fish in headlights, it looks like. As the shutdown's there. Now for HLE, the rest of the fight won't go as smoothly, but a good Maokai ult from Peanut stops PSG from the chase as they get the pick that gives them a numbers advantage.
Yeah, that's actually huge. They got the shutdown, and they got both summoners and ulti off Viper. That is massive there for PSG. It's exactly the kind of play that they do need to continually make here against HLE. They are staying competitive. They really are making it difficult here for HLE to just run away with this game. But HLE are just going to say, you know what? You're missing all your tools. We're just going to start Baron.
Zek has TP, 10 seconds. He can just join in. They are on a ward, though, but another scrying ward to see the ultimate information as Doran goes over the wall into a 1v3. He goes into Mega Gnar, keeping them at bay. His ulti, great. He flashes back over, but Baron's getting low. Maple tries to jump in, but a smite is the way to go. Azhi tries to spin to win, but now Zeka teleported back in and finds backline access. PSG are running for their lives. They've got no health left, no regards, and with Betty down as well, HLE take the Baron, take the kill, take the blood that we were looking for, and PSG are now got their heads in the air.
Yeah, Zeka TV's back in, gets some revenge for the pick on him. HLE playing that out really well, again, realizing that there is a lack of resources here, you know, missing summoners, missing ultimates. They can force the play on the Baron. They're able to secure it. Zeka TV's back in. PSG try to make something happen as multiple members, they're going into the pit, trying to see if they can find a way to steal it, but they can't make it happen. And now PSG just back out on the map. Really all they can do is just continually look for these fights. Might be a long chase here from Woody. He's going to try to see if he can find someone on that long run back, but doesn't find an angle as they all do group together, so they're just going to have to head mid and look for that. We can watch this one more time. As yes, over the wall here, Doran is in some trouble, but Flash is back in the pit, and Maple takes the E, but look at that counter engage from Delight. Instantaneously charms him out of the E there. I think he maybe even disjointed the shuriken flip damage as he interrupted him coming over the wall, so he couldn't get that finish. Azhi goes in to try to bail him out, to try to make something happen. They realize, again, this is desperation hours here when you are in that spot. But it's a perfect counter engage there from Delight. They're going to look for Viper.
They're okay. Delight Bond here. 007 is once again showing up on this pick. We talked about it, and I think a lot of people have been talking about Delight. I could flash back to the final Blitzcrank game. He's got a lot of picks that really resonate with me here as HLE are in the river, and PSG want to take another fight. I mean, they're falling so far behind as Zeka re-engages, looks for the angle himself, gets a 4-man knockup, sets him into the corner. The Fate Talon 3 rather as Delight comes in with a perfect quickness. It's beautiful to watch as everything used on Azhi. Maple tries to get in the thick of it, but he can't get anything more than a kill. Over the wall he finds himself, but a feather through the heart seals the deal. A triple over to Viper, and Hanwha Life are not taking any prisoners in their debut.
Man, it's just PSG going into the bounce house there. HLE, CC him up against the wall. The knockups from Zeka, the stuns from Doran, the knockups and CC from Delight just set up so incredibly well there for Viper. It's just a really well-executed team fight there as Doran was able to push out Betty. He couldn't really be involved in it. Maple goes in, tries to salvage something, does get a kill onto Zeka. But again, there's no pressure on Viper when everything is being set at Zeka there, and Viper is just able to crush them in the fight.
It's an 11k gold lead just about at 25 minutes into the game. It started with that fight in top. It continues to happen when PSG want to scuffle down and get dirty with it. We watch one of those fights again, and HLE pivot around.
And HLE just bought so much time. This is the key thing here. They pull back, and then as that Soul Unbound is about to expire, he goes back in with the Fate is Sealed, multiple members there, then Delight, charms up 3, gets all the knockups. You can see all of this CC coming in onto PSG, and on the other side, Betty had already been pushed out there by Doran. Viper not threatened at all, and no way Maple was going to be able to take the portal out to safety. It's a good try, but you can see now IE done for Viper. He's already on 3 items, plus has the Hex Drinker. This guy is going to be a nightmare.
You called it a bounce house before. Just going back and watching the replay, like 5-6 people all moshed up together. It's a lot of fun watching this game, but to the reality of it again, with no objectives up for a while, with HLE just finding themselves on these waves, the pressure continues to mount, and PSG playing the defensive game now while people like Zeka hold himself on a side wave, and PSG is scattered thin here, looking where to defend.
Yeah, I mean, it's an over 10,000 gold lead at this point. HLE haven't even lost a single tower at this point in the game. They are pushing through multiple lanes here. You can see Doran down towards the bot side. He's going to get that wave moving, and they're just going to take over vision on this topside jungle, bounce between the lanes, continually take away enemy jungle camps, and just extend this gold lead even further. They're going to really choke out PSG, make them look for plays, make them face check in positions where they're not really set up for the fight. Man, it's always so demoralizing when you're like, well, maybe we can get a pick, and then you look over and there's a Locket, and then you look over and there's a McHale's, and then you look over and there's another Locket, and there's just all of these tools that, because really when you're this far behind, your only hope is finding that miracle pick, right? And well, now Sejuani can't really do anything if the light's even in the area.
And how much damage are these carries going to do? Let me have a look at their items too. Oh, there's a more as well, or at least a
double IE.
Hex Drinker, yeah. Oh, there's a 3-item Yone,
pretty good.
Who's level 16. Whoops.
Don't like that.
No, not at all. And, you know, again, I think there's been a lot of stars of this show in this first game. Special mention to Delight here in this game. As you said, 2 items strong here on this Rakan.
Yeah, he's the real carry, that's true.
He is the carry. I mean, bro, he's been clean.
Always is on the Rakan.
It's just a sure thing, isn't it?
And you're
11 out of 13.
You were from the future. You called out the Maw when it was extra, but you knew he was about to buy that Maw. There you go.
I thought he's that far ahead. A mistake turned into a correct answer. Yeah, so 4 items to 3.
Yep.
Sells it. Everyone with a massive gold lead, and we're waiting for this Baron for threat. And you can see Hanwha Life are just around topside now. Their vision shifts. Doran with TP available gets that bot wave into receivership for Azhi to look at, while Peanut just says, hello, JunJia. Did you think this was your jungle with the teleport now flying through and a flank at that? PSG want to fight their way out of the mud, but the quickness is there waiting for Azhi. A beautiful blade caller as well. The feathers fly out a second time. Blades be damned as Woody gets the great multi-man, but his team is dead. And this cow is about to go into the grinder as well. I think that beef will sell for $5.99 a kilo as JunJia runs for his life with Zeka on his tail. Doran as well, hops over the wall, takes him down, and HLE now dealing with the top laner fed to the ground. Betty as well is like, wait, now he's going Mega Gnar. It gets more dangerous, but HLE are ignoring that because they're going to end the game.
Yeah, they're going to end the game. HLE have had enough. 13,000 gold lead, 28 minutes in. They're looking for the Nexus.
It's a good run. It was scrappy. It was fun from PSG, but Hanwha Life for the LCK first seed. There is no stopping the hand stiff when Hanwha Life play like this, and with this star-studded roster, they look for more kills just to pad the stabs. A fair Nexus in the end too, but that'll be taken down as HLE debut in successful fashion.
A strong game there for HLE. Really played out the early minutes well, and in those skirmishes, they absolutely smurfed. So, Raz, tell me what went wrong.
Go on, Raz.
It's not my job.
He does not.
No, I can only tell you what went right.
Yeah, exactly. Also, I don't like being told what to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, you're just not gonna do your job. It's fine.
Believe me, we went over this in the LCS. You cannot get him to do anything.
All right, fine. Okay, let me start with HLE, first seed out of the LCK. A lot of pressure, bit of a dicey start, Jat, but in the end, small feat.
#1 seed from the LCK. This is what it looks like. At very start of the game, I was really hoping to be able to drop some fire memes if PSG beat them and say, like, you know, 100 Thieves lost to this, but I didn't get to do it because HLE actually did show up. There's a big storyline this tournament for me about Peanut and whether or not he's going to be able to show up because he's had a lot of chances at the World Championship.
Yeah.
It's never gone his way, but he has another powerhouse team now who had, honestly, one of the best game ones we've seen of any team at Worlds today.
That's a good point. And talk about like having a lot of chances and not capitalizing on it. Some of people only get one chance and they immediately capitalize on it. Zeka,
Okay.
he's also our, I don't know if I can say that, our Oppo player of the game.
Yes.
But this is the best min-maxer I've ever seen in my life.
He is just one of the most clutch players
That's crazy.
in League of Legends. Like, he shows up when it matters. The ramp up he had going into summer and just his playoffs performance in general was incredible. You thought that when he won the World Championship, that was the best of Zeka you were going to get.
It was for 2 years.
And it certainly was. You're right about that. But hey, World Championship is back. So is Zeka, and he's looking phenomenal.
Something that I loved about how Hanwha Life play around Zeka is they know how to get gold on top of him. This game, he was the one that was finding the plays. The chase down that was happening bot lane, he gets a kill there. We already saw the Rip Turtle play, he got a kill there. A lot of the times he is operating these fights so well, and he's finding the opportunity. That was really sick.
Man, I find Zeka and Peanut being teammates to be amazing.
Yeah?
Because Zeka, he played great in his latest LCK final, but he's the guy who like shows up at Worlds, super average in the LCK. Peanut, like one of the LCK jungle goats at Worlds, super mid.
Yeah.
So now you combine these two together and they're gonna make the perfect pair.
Yeah, they're going to balance each other out. It's a great feat, and Zeka is standing by in our Verizon post-game interview.
We're back on stage for Hanwha Life Esports' first win here at Worlds. Zeka, thank you so much for joining me after this game. Shox was actually just talking about the synergy between you and Peanut. Can you tell me more about the relationship you guys have?
네, 승리 정말 축하드리고 인터뷰 너무 감사드립니다. 방금 막 샥즈님이 이제 피넛 제카 시너지가 너무 좋다라고 말씀해 주셨는데 실제로 두 분의 좀 팀워크가 어떤지 좀 자세히 알려주실 수 있을까요?
일단은 이제 왕호 형이랑 하기 전부터 뭔가 잘 맞을 것 같다는 생각을 했었고 올해 1년 동안 하면서 계속 둘 다 한 맞춰지면서 서머 때 또 좋은 성적 내고 롤드컵까지 올 수 있었던 것 같아요.
Honestly, even before I teamed up with him, I had this thought, maybe we can be a really good mid-jungle duo. And then throughout this year, we were able to grow so much together, and then we managed to win the summer season, and we're now at Worlds, so I'm excited.
Fantastic, and I keep on hearing that he's the lucky charm for the LCK, as we saw in the opening teaser. Does it feel like this to you? Is it actually Peanut who is the lucky charm for the LCK and Hanwha Life maybe as well?
그리고 또 이제 오늘 티저 영상에서 확인할 수 있었듯이 피넛 선수가 좀 LCK 월드 우승의 행운의 약간 부적이다라는 그런 또 징크스 같은 게 있잖아요. 이에 대해서 어떻게 생각하시는지 궁금하네요.
일단 왕호 형이 이제 롤드컵 출전했을 때마다 LCK 팀이 우승한다고 했는데 이번에도 이제 왕호 형이 출전하기도 했고 저희도 이제 LCK 팀으로 출전해서 꼭 왕호 형이 웃게 만들도록 해보겠습니다. 네.
Every time when we had Peanut making it to Worlds, we had an LCK team winning Worlds, and as an LCK team, I hope I can make Peanut smile in the end.
Well, this and the white jersey, obviously, you're set up for success. But talking about you, Zeka, you showed up in 2022, won Worlds against all expectations, coming as the underdog. This time it's a completely different story. You're the LCK winner. There's a lot of expectations for Hanwha Life Esports. How much does it change your perception of Worlds and how you're going to attack this championship?
사실 22년도 월즈를 돌아보면 그 당시엔 약간 언더독으로서 이제 참가했다가 우승이라는 대기록을 쓰셨는데 이번에는 LCK 1번 시드 챔피언으로서 월즈에 오게 됐습니다. 이런 점이 좀 중압감을 더해주는지 그리고 월즈에 대한 인식 자체를 조금 다르게 만드나요?
아무래도 이제 2년 전에 4시드로 왔을 때랑은 좀 다른 느낌이긴 하고 뭐 중압감도 있고 부담감도 있지만 이제 1시드로서 당연히 가져야 될 책임감이라 생각해서 그냥 잘할 생각밖에 안 하는 것 같습니다. 네.
Well, obviously, compared to 2022, I'm feeling a lot more pressure and maybe more stress because we are representing LCK as the first seed, but I think it's a responsibility that every first seed team has to take.
All right, we'll see how you deal with pressure this time around. Fantastic job and a debut for you at Worlds. 인터뷰 감사합니다. Thank you so much, Jisun, for the translation. And that's all for us here on this side of the stage. We'll be back for the 7th game of this evening. It's gonna be FlyQuest making their debut against Esports. Stay tuned.
In the dojo. You want to head high?